You know what? It's just mind-blowing. You apostate Christians think that you don't have to obey the gospel. Somehow you didn't even hear the gospel. You did not, I don't know, it just doesn't register with you. Your version of the gospel is that as long as we believe in the death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah, that he came as our sacrifice, we're saved. We don't have to obey. You count yourself to that number. You count yourself to Israel, the covenant people. You count yourself to the promise without ever keeping the covenants of promise or thinking you don't even have to. You completely ignore everything the Messiah said. So you miss the whole gospel, because the gospel is not the death, burial, and resurrection. That's part of the gospel. But you completely missed the Messiah totally, because whoever will not hear that prophet, he's the capital P prophet. Jehovah said, I'll raise you up a prophet. He's going to raise up a prophet like unto Moses of the brethren, and to him you shall hearken. And whoever will not hear the words of that prophet will be cut off from among the people. Whoever will not hear that prophet, I will require it of him. So, what is it about that you think doesn't apply to you? Because he's going to come teach everything Israel desired at Horeb. He's going to teach the 10 Commandments. And he said it over and over again. If you love me, keep my commandments. If you will enter into life, keep the commandments. He that keeps the commandments and teaches others to do so, the same will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. He that does not keep the commandments and teaches men so will be called least in the kingdom, which is not even in the kingdom. So, why is it that you can't hear that? Because your idea is that if you just accept that he came and that he died and rose again, because there's more to that, where it says if you will believe that in your heart, you're going to be saved. But the very next verse tells you that you believe unto righteousness. I can't quote the verse right off the bat, but you have to believe in your heart unto righteousness. Right there tells you there's something you have to do unto righteousness. Okay? You should be going to find out what righteousness is, because there's one definition of righteousness. Jehovah's definition of righteousness is to keep his 10 Commandments. Because if you will go back to Deuteronomy and look at all they desired at Horeb, they agreed to the 10 Commandments, and you're told it will be your righteousness. It shall be our righteousness. If we will do all these commandments, it will be your righteousness. That's what righteousness is. Anytime you see the word righteousness, you better believe it involves keeping the 10 Commandments. So you somehow think you don't even have to listen to the words the Messiah said, and you can count yourself to the promise. And as long as we believe in our heart, we're saved and we're going up in a rapture. You know, you can't separate. There's not a separate program for you and for Israel. So if you don't know that you have to be grafted into Israel, you need to start learning that. Because you're not going to get into the kingdom unless you're grafted in. And you see, it opens to you to be grafted in. You are reconciled to Jehovah, to the Father, through the Son's sacrifice. You are reconciled, yes. But somehow you think you can just stop there. And you don't have to take part in the covenants that were open to you. The covenants of promise were opened up to you. That is the 10 Commandments and the covenant that was made with Noah. That the Father will not destroy the earth with a flood. He's going to destroy it with fire. Your part is to not eat anything, not eat the blood, not touch blood, not drink blood, not eat the flesh with the blood in it, and to eat clean, not to eat unclean animals. Because he's going to destroy those that eat abominable things, swine's flesh, in the tribulation. When he comes, he's going to, with his rebuke, with fire, he's going to destroy those eating unclean things, swine's flesh, the abomination. Okay? So, your part is to eat clean of that covenant. So those are the 2 covenants of promise that the Messiah was going to come and teach. He's going to come and teach everything desired at Horeb. 10 Commandments. What else is he going to do? He's going to put an end to sacrificial law. So there he became your sacrifice instead of you having to go out and sacrifice animals. Okay, because the blood of bulls and goats and rams, they could never satisfy the Father. Okay, he never wanted sacrificial law to begin with. It was added as a punishment. So now you have to accept the Messiah's sacrifice, but you have to do all the Messiah. You have to follow him. You have to obey him. He's the author of eternal salvation to all that obey him. And how much more shall we be saved? We're reconciled by his death, but how much more shall we be saved by his life? Somehow you missed it. So he's going to magnify the law and make it honorable. He's not going to do away with it. He's going to magnify it. To love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Deuteronomy 6:5, keep the 10 Commandments. And love your neighbor as yourself, Leviticus 19. Rebuke your neighbor when in sin. That's biblical love. Don't suffer sin upon them. And then that's the royal law. You have to fulfill the royal law, which is to do that, which is to go out and rebuke others in sin, teach them to keep the 10 Commandments, looking for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, because that's who he came for. He said, I came but for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But because Israel was scattered into the Gentiles, it was opened up. The wall of partition was broken down. Gentiles can come in, but they don't have a separate program. They have to be grafted into Israel and keep the covenants of promise just like everybody else. So, all through the New Testament, the Messiah told you to keep the commandments, to keep his sayings. And he also said that many will say unto him in that day, Lord, Lord, and I will say unto you, depart from me, you who work iniquity. you who practice lawlessness. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom. He that does the will of my Father. And the will of his Father is that you keep his commandments and that you teach other people to keep the commandments and that you don't eat abominable things. And, it just blows my mind that Christians think they're going to go into the kingdom. We don't have to keep the Sabbath. We can do the Lord's Day. Jesus is our Sabbath. Some crazy thing that somebody came up with and you bought that, okay? We don't have to keep the Sabbath. We can still do Christmas and Easter, even though that's the same thing Israel got cut out for to begin with. We can do Christmas and Easter. We're delivered to do all these abominations. We're still going to get into the kingdom, and most of you think you're going to go in a pre-tribulation rapture. You're under strong delusion. That's part of the strong delusion. And I'm starting to believe that some of you are not even going to ever snap out of the strong delusion. So, if you expect to enter the kingdom, you have to keep the covenants of promise. The Messiah dying for you did not free you from keeping the covenants of promise. That's not what he came to do. He did not come to die so you would not have to keep the covenants of promise. He came to die so you could come in and keep the covenants of promise and become part of the Commonwealth of Israel. So somehow you missed it. And if you don't do that, you're going to find yourself in tribulation. Not raptured, in a tribulation. So, I don't know what else to tell you. But if you do not do that, there's not any, you're going to be the one standing there when he says, depart from me. And you're going to say, what? I did all this stuff. I kept the Ten Commandments. That's what a lot of Christians say. I keep the commandments. First of all, you're covetous. Because most of you, you're covetous. Your heart goes after your covetousness. You won't keep the commandments because of that. You won't give up your Christmas and Easter or Halloween or any of that. So therefore, you're committing spiritual adultery on the Father. And you won't keep the Sabbath, which is a sign between him and his people forever. And you want to say, I'm a dry tree, I'm a Christian. We have some separate pre-tribulation rapture for us. And the Jews are the Jews, which you call Israel, and it's not. Somehow the Jews are going to have to go suffer through tribulation. That's the atheists and the Jews or something, I guess. That's not what it says, okay? You have to be grafted in through the covenants of promise. You have to stop committing spiritual adultery on Jehovah. And you have to keep a Sabbath. You have to do all these things. You have to obey him. You're not exempt. The Messiah didn't die for you. If you say you believe all that, but if you do not obey, you've believed in vain. So if you don't know what he did or what he come to do, you need to go back and read Deuteronomy. You need to go back and learn all that Moses and the prophets said that he would come to do. Because he told you to do that anyway. He said, oh, you fools and slow of heart for not believing all that Moses and the prophets said. So, I don't know what else to tell you, but tribulation's around the corner. So, if you want your pride to keep you from being obedient, You have to humble yourself, and you have to come out of the ways of the world and stop letting your heart go after your covetousness and start being obedient. Because you cannot be a child of disobedience and expect to enter the kingdom.